And I want to welcome everybody to our Speak Sex channel and just say a couple of things about it. Because Speak Sex is not just a podcast, it's actually a movement, right? So our goals for Speak Sex are for people to learn how to speak sex in their sexual life instead of like implying or guessing, or trying to read body language or trying to translate words, So undoing that whole expectation that the woman may say no and mean yes, which leads to like date rape and shit, right? But also the fear of being judged, the fear of saying what you'd like to try out, all that. So in one sense, speaking sex helps you, the listener, hear ways of expressing what you want to say and practicing it so you're ready to do it with your partners. And the way that I suggest that happen is that when you feel comfortable, or when you're having an argument, or when you're at an impasse, or when you feel misunderstood, you can stop and say, you want to speak sex? Or let's speak sex. And then change the way you go about it, right? So that's one of our goals. The second one of our goals is to separate, self, meaning social identity, how you're seen in the world, from your sexual identity, from what you do in your bedroom, right? So you can be like 100% macho and be like a total, gay bottom, and that makes sense, right? So not kind of like conflating who you are in the world and how you're seen and how you see yourself with anything that you do in your sex space, because they are not the same. So that's our second goal. And our third goal, which is kind of like more long-term and very slow and gentle, but for me is like the climax, the ultimate goal, is to demonetize sex. And that's like heavy. And it's heavy because like throughout patriarchy, right, sex, at least, for women, happens in exchange for something. And for guys too. I feel like it's for both. So that, in my opinion, the only way to achieve actual and full gender equality and liberate all genders from the repression, right, is to be conscious about the monetization of sex. And I mean like transactional sex in any way, shape or form. Whether it is on a date, or whether it is for marriage, or whether it is, real estate. So we're not talking about like sex workers who, of course, should be legal and unionized and have health benefits, but actually everything else. Our understanding of desire free from any consideration other than the sexual one. So the heart of speaking sex is to free people, to liberate, people. Like if the show were a person, she would say to you, I just want you to be free.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing. I want to set everyone free in a way that feels safe and articulate, right? So anyway, we do have that's our mission. Today, in today's episode, we're going to cover sexual wellness. Connecting to your sexuality in a holistic way, which can like boost your confidence and liberate you from like shame and taboos and like the bullshitting your brain that you were brainwashed to think by whatever, your schools, your parents, your churches, your dominant culture, and also how to, find like sober sex, by which I mean feel the whole high, the full high of sex without necessarily needing to like get drunk or high first in order to not be so self-conscious, right? So like get to that place. Coming to our power as sexual beings, free of stigma by kind of like consciously looking for ways to do that. So my guests today are Naomi Ross, and she is very much a presence in all things sexual in Miami these days. And she is the Miss Sexplorer on Instagram, and she is the communications officer at the Sex Museum here in Miami Beach, which is a wild place. Welcome, Naomi.
Thank you.
And Nathalia Gilek is the founder of Yoni Wonderland, with an A, Wonderland, which has a website and a store where you can find these beautiful crystal dildos, I'm going to call them, for simplification purposes, that we have samples of here today with us. And her mission is to help, sexually conscious women or women looking for kind of like self-love and consciousness to get in touch with their sexual essence by deepening our connection to our yoni, which is like our sacred space from where we give birth, and sustain the continuation of like all humanity, and find ways to heal past emotional or sexual wounds, which are often kept in our first or chakra or second, depending. Get over past traumas in a way that's not like through psychology and language, but through massage and physical freedom, and also enhance our vitality and energy. So this I don't know, what do you call them?
I call them intimate gemstones.
Okay, so these intimate gemstones or crystals are like pure 100% GIA certified, and she'll tell us how they're special and energetically, and they're safe to use internally as well, of course, as externally. But the internally is what's new about them, what makes them different than like your general crystals that you get in whatever shops, magic shops or shops. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Let's talk a little bit first about your journey of discovery, because you were telling me before we started recording how you both came from like conservative backgrounds, and you'd never in a million years imagine either one of you that you'd be Nathalia like selling sex toys and Naomi like trying out sex toys for people to see how they work. So that journey, I think, and how much happier you are for having embarked on it is something that would be nice for everyone to hear about, right?
Yeah.
So you want to tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, and even how we met. I was kind of on my own healing journey after a long-term relationship ended last year, and started realizing that I had a lot of sexual energy after blocks were being kind of like, emotional blocks or just different things from my past. I was able to clear those, and all of a sudden I wanted to learn so much, and I wanted to find out, what's going on. I've always been a creative person, but feeling that connection to my body more was very, very new. And I went to a women's wellness event, and Nathalia was there, and then I started to get a little bit involved in Tantra and was curious about that, and we found each other at other events. And the more that I was like delving into this realm, I realized that it was, and I would share about it through my social media, right? I was being very vulnerable, and some people were like, oh my God, you're sharing so much, like you're not going to be, hired by people or whatever in the future. And now I work at the Erotic Art Museum. But it was something that the more that I learned, and I was finding out how much confidence I could have with myself, with partners, and it's fun, first of all, to learn about whether it's more about your yoni or learning about kink or BDSM or all these other things, but it helps you realize you're just full of beautiful energy and that you can do whatever you want. And
well, it helps you feel comfortable with stuff that if you haven't put yourself out there, at least in a class where it's safe. Like, you know, you don't have to go to like a dungeon.
No.
But just taking like a safe class where everybody starts by talking about it, right?
Like workshops or discussions.
Then you get comfortable with all kinds of different sexual practices that you don't know about. And if you don't know about them, like you judge them yourself for it.
For sure. I kind of describe it as going back to school because also I grew up in a household with a super protective mother who never let me go to any sex ed growing up. So the first time I saw anything was in college at age 18 when there was a film about Kinsey and the sex researchers, and all of a sudden on the big screen it's like, oh, naked bodies, and oh, that's what this stuff is. So now I'm in my 30s and just all of a sudden I'm like a teenager again, and having my mind is just like being blown by all these things that are also very natural, and there's nothing wrong with anything.
Yeah, they're natural, but they need to be fucking accessible. I think that's what's happened. You know, it's like the culture, I call it the patriarchy, but you can call it whatever you like. You know, you can call it matriarchy, that's where you're at. You can call it capitalism, you can call it whatever, you know, Catholicism, it doesn't matter. The culture keeps all this stuff secret. And, you know, we can see all the violence in the world. We can't see, like, tits and vaginas, you know, nipples. Like, not forget, you know, Instagram or movies or TV or, like, regular cable or whatever. We can't even say, like, the F word.
Yeah, even talking about it.
Why? Because it's the ultimate, you know, they want to keep us repressed. They don't want that energy, that kind of, like, wild and hard to control sexual energy, you know, to come out and share, because it's going to shake things up. They don't even know how, but they know, right? That things are going to get too shaken up. So maybe we won't go to the mall as much and buy like the, you know, the I don't know, high heels and the fancy purses. Like we'll be happy. We won't have that like extra hunger that we need to feel, because we'll be like happy, sexually and like emotionally satisfied, right? The thing about sexual pleasure, but also like emotional pleasure, is you feel satiated, right? You feel like fed. So you don't have to like run out, you know, what can I buy? Like, let me go on Amazon, or if it's not buy something, you know, always kind of like chasing.
Feeling the gap, feeling that emptiness that you have inside,
It makes you so happy.
It makes you, and like food, which like in America today, it's really like the one rebellious thing to feel. Like you don't need anything.
But people are very fearful. Like I remember multiple family members like messaging me and be like, oh my God, like you have to be so careful. Like, you know, their guys are gonna do such and such, and you know, like, people are gonna do things anywhere. I grew up with a mom who was so fearful and always told me like, someone's gonna rape you. And I mean, if you walk around with fear all the time and worry that something's gonna happen to you, something might happen to you. But actually, if you share about these things, I think, you know, the more we're sharing about it and the more that we're feeling comfortable and not worried about, I don't know, creepy people that exist in general, that's important, because we can't always hide. We can't always be worried that something's gonna happen. And to be honest, I could be wearing like workout clothes and someone's gonna whistle at me or something.
You could be jogging in Central Park, as you know, it has happened many times.
Right.
And like, you know, the pervert will find you and rape you and crush your skull or whatever.
God forbid.
God forbid, I mean, we're not saying that we should, actually, I advocate like two things in public, in groups, in packs, for sure, whatever it is, you know, sexual or not. So if you were to ask me, like, should I go backpacking alone in Thailand? I would be like, no, babe.
As a woman, you always have to be careful. You always have to be careful. So,
but if you're asking me, like, you know, should I post or speak about sexual things? It's like, yes.
Heck yes.
Yes.
And the more you post and the more you're connected to type of people that will respond positively to what you're posting. What I find is that in the sex groups and even like sex parties or ambiances where people are more open about speaking about sex, they're also more open about being respectful. So even like before they touch you or approach you, there is even like a body language, and even they'll speak it. Yeah. Are you okay being touched this way? Is it okay if I sit next to you? Is it okay if I put my hand here? So the language is there, and people who actually judge the fact that you're not, you know, that you're gonna get raped, or at the sex party they're gonna invade your space. This is actually the complete opposite. It's where you actually, at least for me, where I feel the safest. You know, I get to exhibit my body, I get to be in my own skin, but at the same time, nobody touches my space if I'm not, you know, open to it. So that is what I do love about being around people who are open to sex, you know, or sexually, kind of like in a different dimension than the convention of people that you meet out there, or that your parents think that you're hanging out with, because it's different, and you have to experience it in order to know exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, that's the thing about, I mean, that's what we're trying to spread, is that the truth about being sexually liberated or sexually evolved or, you know, woke in whatever way, is that we are already speaking sex. We know that we have to speak it to be safe and to be clear, right? And it's like long before Me Too. You know, this is not about, for like people in that community, it's not about fear of like, oh my God, you know, I'm going to be misunderstood and what are these new words? Not at all. You know, like people in the kink community have been speaking sex pretty fluently and inventing words and terms to understand one another. For sure since the 20th century. I don't know at what point, sometime in the 60s, you know, it came up. And they use language in new ways, and they taught us to do that. And what we're trying to do now is spread it to like the general public, you know, everyone else who doesn't do it, because they can use it for the most basic stuff, you know, like your boyfriend is cheating on you, but you want to save your relationship, you know, whatever the most basic questions, you know, you want to have sex with like your best friend, but you don't know how to go about it, you know. You want to, you know, maybe your lover wants you to like go to a swingers party and you're terrified, but you don't want to also say no, and I don't know, you know, you have like bi tendencies, but you don't want to be gay, you don't want to identify as gay, you don't want to be misunderstood that suddenly you're not going to go with that, you know, with the opposite sex because you want to. So basic stuff that's like common to the vast heteronormative majority can be handled just by knowing how to speak about it without fear. So you don't need to like be at the sex party naked, but that's where we've come from. That's where we learn to communicate.
And even the power of saying no, and the power of listening to a no, because sometimes when we say no to a partner, they feel offended, or we can feel offended at sometimes, but just learning how to accept or hear a no, or being able to say a no, don't touch me this way, or yes, or if that person says no to you, you're not going to get offended. It's like, okay, maybe I'm not doing a good job, maybe I'm not performing that well, maybe I'm doing something he doesn't or she doesn't like. So the power of saying no too is very, you know, something that you learn along the way when you're actually learning how to speak sex. You know,
Right.
It's not only accepting, it's also saying no.
Right, and it takes us back to what I said in the beginning, which is you realize, like by practicing that, you realize that it doesn't affect your identity. Like when you say no to a guy in that context, he doesn't feel like he's rejected or he's any less of a man, or you know his technique is off, right? It's just simply where you're at this moment.
And you experiment something, okay, maybe she's not here, but let's try this instead. And you actually open your creative mind and you try new things, you know, things that maybe you think that pattern that you're used to doing with other women or other men, it always works, but with this one here, she's saying no, and you know, let me try, let me get out of my comfort zone and explore new things, let me get creative, let's see, you know, what can come out of this.
Yeah, and not take things personally. Wow,
Yes.
like that's huge.
It is.
Yeah, and okay, so we'll take a little break. I'll check that. And when we come back, let's talk specifically about like the yoni massages. I want to do that next with the the masturbation or the self-pleasing, self-pleasure with the crystal dildos.
Intimate gemstone.
Okay, I'm here with Naomi, Nathalia, and the beautiful crystal yonis, and we're talking about sexual wellness and women loving their bodies and finding like sexual freedom, their sexual voice, our sexual voice, our sexual freedom through loving ourselves and through feeling our body and understanding it and knowing it first before we like share that verbally and physically and sensually with our lover or husband or girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever we want to be with. So this is something that we can experience and enjoy even when we're alone. And I'm going to say especially
Especially when
right?
we're alone, correct.
Especially when we're like in between relationships or we're healing from a breakup or even more so a divorce. Stuff that like shakes us up, in our sense of who we are as women. And sometimes maybe we feel that we were not good enough or didn't speak for ourselves. Weren't conscious, weren't present sexually, all of that stuff. So kind of like pressing reset and starting with playing with yourself. Rebirth.
Yes.
Sexual rebirth.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember, what's her name? Dobson, I think her name is. And I read her when I was new in America. I was like 17, and she had written a book, Sex for One. I don't even know. I found it in the library, like in college, and the whole book was about masturbating and why it's so healthy and why it's amazing for women. And she was already like all through the 60s organizing this group masturbation sessions where either only women or women and men would gather in a circle, and she would like speak sex, right, until everyone was comfortable to undress if they were, and then she would guide them in meditation, masturbation. And to me, coming from Greece, where like I had spent, I don't know, since the age of 8 or 9 or whatever, I didn't time it, but ever since I started masturbating, it was always like secret, right?
Yes.
And in terror, like in the terror of being caught, in the terror of going to hell when I was younger. I mean, by 17, I'd overcome like the fear of hell. But like at 10, it was hell also. It was like, if anyone knew, they would not speak to me ever again. Like, I want to stop. What is this? It was like the feeling of addiction. When you're an addict and you hate it and you want to stop and you can't. I experienced all that, and like at that like really young age, like I didn't want to do it, and I couldn't stop doing it, and I felt like I was doomed, and
like you were doing something wrong, but in reality,
I was so like, I was like chosen to be immoral. and another thing, oh my God, yeah, the other thing is that my parents wouldn't allow us to have closed doors ever of our rooms.
Wow.
So my experience of like masturbation was always half of my brain is like, obsessing, focused on that one thing that will get me off, and half of my brain is listening in case there's like a footstep or any sound. Because my parents one of the parents at least was always there. And how to stop it. Immediately like stop it. So you can imagine like the mind fuck where so much of your attention is external, making sure that like you're not heard, So I mastered the art of like coming quiet.
It's funny you say that because I also started exploring at the age of like 8 or 9, and the way that I would do it is I would hump my pillow, right?
I have my pillows
Yes,
too.
and so I would get my friends and even my sister, which my sister at the time didn't care for it like as much as I was like super into it, and that happened to me the same. So, and it's funny because I brought that to my adulthood, and up until I started really like tapping into my sexuality in a different way, I realized that up to maybe about my almost 30s, I would get under the sheets, close my door, and just be like under my sheets masturbating, and quietly as well. Like, so people wouldn't see me, and even like, I don't know, the spirits or the gods or whoever, you know, if I was under the sheets, nobody could see me. But if I was in my room, even though the door was closed but exposed, then, you know, this outside, I don't know, this fantasy people, I don't know who, would be even watching me, and that would be wrong, you know?
Right, it felt more slutty if you were out of the covers, like naked.
Yes. Yes, and like moaning and using your voice and expressing it. Yeah.
And sound is so important. I think, yeah, just in general, if you're doing anything sexual and you have to like quiet yourself, it's not nearly as impactful even. I mean, sure, it can be exciting, oh, there's someone next door, oh, you kind of have to be quiet. And then like, if you have to be noisy, then you like cover yourself with the pillow. But
yeah, when it's like constantly when you have to do that. Yeah.
But it's just so much more enjoyable when you can make the noise. So sometimes now, like, oh, like if I want to like do it before bed, I'll like try to be quiet because I have a roommate next door. But yeah, when you're able to just fully express yourself totally, it's life changing. And unlike both of you, maybe my first like finding anything sexual was my mother's romance novels. So I would like read those, and I never masturbated or anything like that. But I remember like once she only had a few of the same books, so I would like flip to the hot parts because I knew they were like, I was like, all right, enough of this boring stuff. Like, where's the good shit? And then also when I worked in a restaurant that was close to a Barnes and Noble, I somehow found like the erotic books novel, and I was a teenager, and I would like read these erotica things, and that was before like 50 Shades of Grey or anything like that. But I do, if I reflect on it, I do remember it probably did turn me on, because I was very much into reading back then, and my imagination is super good. So then I was like 14, then I would go like work at the restaurant after I was like, you know, filling my brain with like all this like great energy, but I had no idea, because I was so uneducated from any kind of formal things about sex, like what that connection was. I was just like, oh, this is really exciting, but not knowing why.
Why, or like to masturbate.
Yeah, no idea. Just like it was so, and even now, like if I'm sexting or anything like that, that's like an automatic turn on for me, because I have that, I can connect those things. Yeah. And sensation wise, like sure, of course it's great, but actually even just flirtations and things like that is really awesome. Anyways.
Yeah, for me too. My first like turn on was language, which is interesting because now we're like talking about speaking sex, but it was 100% language, and there were no romance novels. So like I think the first time that I remember, I mean, who knows if it's the first time, but how weird is this? My grandpa he just passed, but he was a priest, a Christian priest, clearly. So welcome to Speak Sex. We are recording today our sexual wellness episode, focusing on like the health and life and vitality and freedom of the yoni. And we were in the middle of talking about masturbation.
And as youth and where we're at now, and
right, our youth and why and women kind of like reclaim. Oh, I was telling you the story. Yes, okay. So it's I was in Greece. I was like 8, and there was some war declared that didn't happen. But nevertheless, my mom panicked, and she took us to stay with her parents because she thought my dad would be called to the army. So we go and we stay at my grandfather's house, who's a priest, and his whole library was like Christian books. and like lives of saints and stuff like that. I don't remember if I had masturbated before or not, but I remember this as like my first informative experience because there was nothing to do, right? I wasn't going to school, I was like in his house, and I went through all of his books, and I found these books that were printed by the church that were telling us stories of people who were condemned to hell and why they went to hell, right? So they were like, you know, the stepmother who seduces the stepson and she goes to hell, or, you know, like the wife who takes a lover and she goes to hell. And it was written in an extremely damning way. But it turned me on so much. So like I took that book and I would read it and stop and, you know, masturbate. And I hid in the bathtub pretending to take a bath, but I didn't even take a bath, you know, I would hide it wherever I could. And so it was always like words after that, you know. Then I would like get turned on by classics, like I remember like I would read Shakespeare and find moments where, you know, I don't know, Romeo and Juliet or like Anthony and Cleopatra would say something, I'd be like, yes, and I would read those same words over and over again until I would like climax. You know, so it's like all about language being the turn on. And then, like you said, when I came to America, of course, I discovered like sex novels, you know, sex writing, queer porn, you know, kink porn. It's all written and it's all readily available. So, like with that, it was perfect because I could just get the right thing, and it was so quick.
I think what you were saying too is interesting because for me, maybe it's because I grew up having to be this perfect child, and if I wasn't perfect all the time. But now as an adult, if something like maybe the idea of like something's not allowed, that's a turn on for me. Or like you're in a certain space and you shouldn't be sexual or whatever, like that's so much more exciting to me than just like typical like you're in a bedroom or whatever. You know, I like to do things like, let's go in the kitchen and other people use this kitchen. Oh wow. A little bit of exhibitionism in public or whatever, because that is, that's not supposed to be permitted, but like who says so? Everyone else.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, that's the whole point, that like taboo has become sexy, so a lot of us, you know, like especially kink, a lot of kink, it comes from like, oh my God, it was so forbidden, or you turn around something that was like super forbidden and you make it pleasurable. But like when we get to a more evolved place where we don't have those judgments, then it can really be like what we actually like, you know, like if you like sex in public, or if you like, right? So, you know, like learning yourself and learning what turns you on is part of that, like just having the freedom to try different things out. So, actually, I was going to ask you, Naomi, to tell us a little bit about your breakup, just a little bit, because I know that that's what brought you to this, like sexual learning, sexual experimentation, sexual rebirth,
Yeah, so I mean, I had been in a relationship from the time I was 18 until 32. I had never been with any other partners. I mean, I was a teenager, right? Although teenagers, they date in high school, they explore, things like that. That was the first person I was ever connected with.
So you found your sexuality with him. He was your first lover.
Yeah.
And you stayed faithful to him.
Yeah.
For all those years.
Yeah, I mean, like at the start of the relationship, on his end, there was, I don't know if you call it like adultery if you're just dating, but there was cheating, and my confidence back then was so low. And I remember my mom once being like, well, you know, he's young, he'll change. And so I stuck around with it. And one time when we were dating, I was feeling a little neglected, and I had a one-night stand, but he had probably like 5 years into our relationship still been fooling around with others, and I stuck around. And when things were kind of weird a few years before the relationship ended.
So you got married after a number of years of dating?
We were together for like 8.5 years before he proposed, and then we got married. Yeah. And so when we were first married, there was someone that he met, and he started calling this person a soulmate. And back then I was devastated because all of a sudden I'm like, well, soulmate, like that means that he's supposed to be with someone else. And I was in such a place in my mind that I never felt like anyone else would ever want to be with me, or I don't even know why that was in my mind, but I was just
But it's also like the power of habit. Habit is like a huge force. You get used to someone, and after so many years, the idea of like being naked with a new person.
And having never been with anyone else except for one night stand.
Right. Which doesn't count. Like one night stands don't count because like you're probably drunk or high or like in the moment.
Yeah. I was a little drunk and I never get drunk. And this soulmate is actually who he ended up running away to Europe with. But yeah, so a few years ago I was in a place where I was just like, oh, well, that's it. That's the end of my life.
He decided that he wanted a divorce.
Yes, he was the one that made that decision. I was
because he fell in love with the soulmate.
I kind of sensed something was going on, and he was in utter denial. Yeah, and actually a few months before, I had brought up the idea of opening up the relationship because we were living in a house with some of friends who were single women, and me coming from a place where he was really the only person I'd ever been with, all of a sudden I was like, wow, before we have kids, before we really settle down, I kind of want more experiences. And the first time I talked to him about this, I remember his reaction, and I was kind of shocked because I thought he was more liberal. He was always talking about cuddle parties and stuff. He was like, if you do something like that, I'm going to walk out the door. I was like, okay.
That is his insecurity.
Yeah, I was like,
projected on
really? Well, calm down. Like, let's learn more about things. And then a few months later, he had some experience that like opened his mind up or whatever. And he was like, okay, let's do this. Later on, I learned it's because he started talking to this other girl again. And I think what I learned is that his ego was so big that he really was a one-woman person, and maybe needing someone who really like needed him, because I was beginning to step into my power. And when I reconnected with the friend that I'd known for many years as the first part of my opening up a relationship, all of a sudden it was like, wow, someone else can like really desire me, and I am this like sexual being. And it was so incredible and that was like the start of building up my confidence, really. Thinking like outside of this person I'd been with so long. But and the thing is, I've heard even about open relationships, right? You can be with your primary partner, it can even be more exciting. But I guess that wasn't for him. And yeah, so since then I have, I've connected with some people, and it's been so interesting because I never dated her or anything like that. So now in my 30s, I'm like, how does this work? But as I've been learning more about myself and doing these different classes, and I'm discovering who I am sexually.
So you took like the tantra sex classes, and you took like the yoni massage and kink classes, right?
A little bit of everything, and I'm still navigating, I'm still figuring out.
You should do it.
And you're always evolving too. As a person, you evolve. Like just because you're not into something now. And recently, actually, I tried the back door, and now I'm more curious about that. So
Well, that's what people like. That's why like listening to these conversations even is wonderful, because one of the things that you take out of it is that your interests and your tastes will change. Like the odds that you like the same thing, even if it's the same kink, for life, are really, really low, right? And as you grow older, especially women, they become more and more sexually, interested. Like in our 20s, we're still, figuring things out, and we're more like into numbers if we're liberated, right? Than actually different sexual practices or whatever, activities, experiences. It's more like same thing, different guys. Now you go into your 30s and you're like, well, yeah, like
what is there more?
Yeah. And also we have a few more dollars, so like we can afford the classes, you know, we can afford like the crystal yoni, the dildos, you know, right? In our 20s we can't.
Or even it's so interesting because at the museum that I work at, we have amazing positive sex ed programs, and I actually just was talking with some women last night, and they're around my age, and they were so timid about the idea of going on their own to one of these workshops or discussions, because it's like, oh, well, what will someone think of me if I'm going to a workshop about openness or polyamory? But even with curiosity, you can still go, you can still learn. You don't have to, if you're going to that, you don't have to become it. It's just having that knowledge and just opening up your mind.
Right, but we women are like that. Like, we'd rather go with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
But it's the same, like, even to the movies, you know, or like to dinner, or like to a bar.
Yeah.
You just feel more at ease if you're going with someone. But like, all you need is like a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right?
But even finding someone that'll be like, okay, I'll go with you to the class about you know such and such.
Yeah.
It's not always as easy, but I encourage everyone just it's okay. Or I think they were worried about there will only be a few people there. But even so, you know, it's an opportunity for yourself.
I actually like when there's less people and more people, because you open, you're able to actually open up a lot more, and when you're in an intimate group, the dynamic changes. You know, people feel more comfortable in opening up themselves or exchanging experiences rather than being in a group of 40 people and you're just kind of like, you get to hide almost, you know, versus you being like the fifth person of the group and everybody sharing, you kind of like, also, I don't know, you get excited about sharing your story too, or you know, that's something encouraging almost.
Maybe a chance to bond stronger with the others or speak up.
But I mean, I don't know, I'm a Pisces, and I understand that, you know, I enjoy it more if I'm with a girlfriend. Like, I'm freer, and I will say more and do more, you know, because like, when it's, especially if it's mixed gender, like I'm always thinking, will one of these guys think that I'm looking for a partner? You know, will someone like at the end, you know, cheat on me because I don't want to? So sometimes I may be more, you know, not self-conscious physically, but like not quite say or do, you know, the wild stuff that I would, because I don't want to be misunderstood by someone in the group or the circle. But if I'm with my girlfriend, then I feel, you know what, we're going to live together. So like I can go all out and be myself and enjoy it.
That's true, yeah.
But that's like for me, because I'm you know, I don't like people kind of like, you know, apropos of nothing.
I'm more the opposite. I like it when I get to go to those places. I think I'm more free and like even to express myself when I'm not around people who know me. You know, that you know, I'm just myself. I can be myself, and I don't have my friend judging me. Oh, really? Is that your story or stuff like that? So in those places, I'm the complete opposite. I'd rather go by myself and just be open, and I don't care if you're gonna approach me. I'm gonna say no and goodbye. I'm gonna go home and that's it. You know, kind of thing.
No, for sure.
But it's different.
Easy to
It's
say
a different
no.
dynamic.
It's super easy to say no if you don't want it. I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of Scorpio girlfriends, so I have a lot of like really sexually, you know, evolved and highly sexual friends. So it's easy, like, to do that. So that's one of the things that we all need to do. Like, is like speak sex with our friends and find out where they're at, and you know, because they may be like into so much more and ready. And once we open that door, like they will not stop speaking sex to us.
And
I have a lot of friends like that.
my natural introvert, probably from like back in the day, she actually came up recently when I was in a space and it was like opportunity to dance. And I love when I'm on my own in my apartment. apartment, I can dance around, I can dance naked, I can be super sexy. And I was in a public space recently with some friends, and I really wanted one of them to like dance with me. I was kind of like dancing in the group, but didn't want to go out into the middle of a space with a bunch of strangers. Had it been a darker nightclub, it would have been fine. But sometimes I find my shyness still being there. Meanwhile, I'm totally open to sharing just a picture or whatever. Maybe I've been body painted, and that's okay to go on social media. But the original shy girl still comes out sometimes. Actually, I surprised myself, and after that night, I was like, you know what? Next time, I'm gonna just shake my ass and go crazy, because like no one cares. But that's when you can get into your head, and so it's like,
right,
how do
no
you
one cares.
Yeah, it's like how do you get out of your head? And like these are the ways that you can do it. But practicing on your own kind of can get you to a place where you will feel more comfortable down the line.
Right. I mean, I want to say before we talk about practicing on your own, is that speaking sex, I think, works best for shy people. You know, I really think so, because it's when you're shy and you don't know how to kind of be out there physically or, you know, verbally, in the sense of, hey sexy, you want to hang out today, like that, right? And you're so self-conscious about, you know, being misunderstood or being whatever it is, that, you know, you can use the speak sex language, because it's really, you know, it's intimate, but it's very precise. It doesn't leave all these like innuendos, and you know, it doesn't leave all these gray areas where you may feel that you could be misunderstood or you know, taken for granted, or you know, or whatever. Which both men and women, you know, have that fear. It's not just for us women. You know, I feel like, you know, especially like the fear of rejection, right? So by speaking sex, you kind of get rid of all of that. Because, you know, you're really talking about the nuts and bolts. It's not about, you know, do you want me? It's instead like, you know, this is what I like to do. Have we tried it out? Have we thought of this and that? You know, oh, you know what, we like, you know, I learned this new word, or I learned this new practice. So it's not like, do you think I'm hot?
No, and those are some
the
of my
opposite of that.
Those are some of my favorite conversations. I actually find that just talking with like guy friends and stuff, even if we're not like intimate or whatever, it's fun to talk about that stuff, and it certainly makes for interesting conversation. And I'm much better like still one-on-one talking to people.
Yeah,
I think
too,
like
yeah.
group environments, like I can open up and share, but sometimes in groups I will probably listen a little bit more. But
to absorb, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like this super like, but who knows? Like if we were in front of audience, I might be like, we are technically, but
we are technically, yes. Hi audience, hi Speak Sex audience. Okay, so we're going to take a moment's break, and in our next segment, we're going to discuss sexual wellness in practice, finally, and introduce our crystal, what are we calling them again, enhancers?
intimate gemstones.
Oh, intimate. I call them crystal dildos, but they're intimate gemstones.
Yes.
And I will show everyone mine, so please come back, we'll be back in a minute. And make sure you subscribe to our Speak Sex channel. Bye. Okay, we're back. We're back. Welcome to Speak Sex. This is our sexual wellness episode, and I'm here with Naomi and Nathalia. And we are ready to talk about boosting our sexual confidence and coming into our own as sexual women and men by working with ourselves. I don't want to say work, I should say pleasing ourselves, right? And kind
Discovering.
of like, right, yeah, perfecting the art of pleasuring ourselves first, which, you know, in everything New Age and yoga and whatever related, you know, the kind of like the cliche almost slogan is you gotta love yourself first before you want someone else, or you know, before you're ready to like be loved the way you want to be loved.
Definitely, and navigating. I think I would say you're always learning, and perfectionism. Not even worrying about that. Don't set any expectations for yourself or future partners, because you're all just where you are. But the more you practice, the better you'll get, or the more you'll learn
Comfortable.
about. Yeah,
You
exactly.
get much more comfortable.
Yes, for sure.
And also we were speaking about, sobering sex, sobering sex up. Meaning, the more you learn and the more you do it, the easier it becomes to reach that like high of sexual climax without having to, without having to like use alcohol or self-medicate or, weed or whatever it is. And then you feel more, but also like you can get to that space, much more easily on your own, like in a super healthy way.
Yeah, and connecting deeper to yourself and connecting eventually when you're with a partner, with them like energetically.
Right, yeah, like riding that flow.
No, and the more you experiment on yourself, the more you get to know yourself, and the more you get to know what triggers you naturally, like where to touch or what to do, or even like your breath. You know how to get yourself there in a different way than, actually just relying on, toxic substances or any other external stimulation, being that from a partner or other substance like that. You actually you know yourself so much to the point where you know how to get to where you need to be just by touch and breath and everything else.
Right, and when it comes to touch, you can also speak sex within the sexual experience and say, give like loving instructions. And say, okay, like a little higher, a little to the left.
But like not just in your head, like literally out of your mouth.
Out of your mouth.
Guide them, or like gently guide their hands, or you want it to go, or whatever. But yeah, speaking of that, but that was just in my head. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, because you can think like, oh, this isn't so great, but if you don't say anything, they don't know.
Right, exactly.
Or the fake orgasm.
No. Okay, in our universe, I should say this, like never fake an orgasm.
Never.
If you're a feminist, even like beginning feminist, you are not allowed to fake an orgasm because you steal it away from yourself, right? So like first you gotta own the truth. And, I know, please. That's just like, like feeding the male ego for no reason. Because he doesn't, for no reason meaning like, he deserves better himself.
Yeah,
like,
he needs to learn, exactly, for sure.
Yeah, and he can make it come for real. It's just like kind of, like with everything else in relationship, it takes time and practice and, a little bit of effort.
And it being okay for a man or a woman, maybe that doesn't happen even. There's so much like pressure at times. I was actually with someone recently who's like, oh, you're okay if I don't like, come to a climax or whatever. I'm like, yeah, because I'm just enjoying myself being here with you now. And for me, actually, I need a certain kind of stimulation. Internally, it's not as effective for me, but I'm still enjoying myself. I'm still experiencing pleasure, and that's what matters. So not getting so caught up like, oh, I have to orgasm. Like, no, that's okay.
Yeah, that's I think a block. That's what creates the blockages. Like when you actually force yourself, or you have that pressure of having to orgasm.
Yeah.
I think that's where sometimes a lot of women and men, they just create that block and nothing happens.
Yeah, that's like the one of the negative side effects of the sexual revolution. It's like. Before the 60s, and before the pill and all of that, it was actually not normal, let's say, or common for men to care that the woman even comes, right? But then the Kinsey report and everything else, coming together, and the first wave of feminism educated everyone to the fact that there is such a thing as a clitoral orgasm, and it's the easiest and most common for like your average woman to achieve first. There are actually 7 types of female orgasm. But in any case, so like now we've got to, one of the things we've achieved as a species is that, men expect to make the woman, a climax. Come in some way, and
also because of porn and stuff like that.
Right, because of all of it, yeah. So, like in our parents' generation or our grandparents' generation, forget it. Like, the woman was just lying there and looking at the ceiling and thinking of England or whatever. So, we've come along, sex no longer is supposed to be procreative, right? partly because like there is a DNA paternity test, so like the dude can figure out if the kid's his or not, so we don't have to be like locked in women's quarters at all times to make sure that like the children are his and all that bullshit. So a lot has changed, and now, thanks to me too, we've also got to the place of like verbal consent that the woman gets to give. So it's all like huge, big steps in evolution, sexual evolution. But yeah, the thing about the orgasm, the woman's orgasm, and pleasing your woman, is that it's got too far on the other end, where men now kind of like consider it a matter of manhood and honor. They've taken it way out of proportion and too far, and they feel like they haven't performed if they don't make the woman come. So it's like double-pronged kind of like obsession, mostly for the men, I feel, and then we women go along with it because we don't want them to feel bad.
Right.
So for us, it's all empathy. Like, we really don't care. I think, like, physically how we're made, we don't care if he comes, or not. And we don't even necessarily care if we always come. And we have so many ways of coming that we could come like 10 times in a row also, and he still doesn't come. And that's great. Like, if you want to be selfish, right? If you want to be brutally honest. But we feel bad about the guy because it seems like his manhood is tied up with this bullshit. So like we will stop ourselves from having too many orgasms because we feel like that's selfish. It's not. So we're here to say, right, that like come as much as you want, sisters, because that's good for the guy. It makes him feel good. And guys out there, if you don't come, hey, that's great, even better for us. We get to like keep going. We don't have to stop. Because most guys, eventually will come and then they'll like fall asleep. Unless they're like 19. They'll fall asleep and we could come like another 20 times. So there's nothing wrong with like the guy, getting flaccid. Flaccid dick is super hot. There's nothing wrong with the guy, having a hard-on but not coming. There is no prescribed way. There is no like success and victory. This is not, we're not going to battle, right? This is not like the war.
Just enjoy
of the sexes.
what's happening, whatever
right.
it is.
It's like a dance. It's the flow. It's the flow of the energy.
And that's what Tantra kind of teaches, And the more you get into it, the more you understand that there's no pressure there, And for women too, and sometimes
there's no goal.
Yeah, there's no goal, exactly. No pressure and no goal. But I think also that sometimes it's the women's fault that guys kind of feel that way, because this happened to me actually when the first time me and my husband we had sex. We were in there, and then all of a sudden he couldn't get hard, but he's like, oh my God, I'm so self-conscious, and he's like, if it was another girl, like, you're so nice about this, you don't care, because I really didn't care, and we ended up getting married. Just that's, I guess that's the story, but a lot of women, but a lot of women out there, they put the pressure on the guy about having to do that. So we also have the same way we have to own our power of like speaking ourselves and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of women are very mean to other guys, and especially here in Miami, you get that superficial kind of personality at all, and you expect a guy to be a certain way, and if they're not that way, women are mean. Women are very mean
but
too.
I think they're mean because there is that, okay, so this is where I think where the meanness comes from. From this idea that like the man wants you, well, me, the woman, the man wants me, I give myself to you, which is like a favor I do to you, which is that whole bullshit of like the damsel in distress, we are the object, whatever, and we give ourselves as an object, as if there is a separation or a distance between me and my body. So the first thing is that dichotomy, like we're broken up, we're completely like a cubist artwork. So our mind is like, okay, I will give you my virginity, my vagina, whatever, access, right? And you should like appreciate that so much, that you should be coming buckets, because like, it's my gift to you. Sick I mean, it's sick because I am this vagina. There is no other I. Like, there's nothing to give, you know, like.
That you're not just a vagina.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The vagina is part of the I, right? So, you know, when I am with another, with a woman or a man, like, all of me is there. There isn't that kind of like separation. So what I want from being with the other is that connection and the communication and pleasure. And they're all gradations of pleasure. But I think that coming from that kind of like old setup, the woman feels personally unwanted.
If the guy,
or not pretty enough or not hot enough because he hasn't come. So she feels it as a judgment and as a rejection, you know, very deeply.
So
and
she
it
projects
hurts her.
it out on
So
him,
she attacks him because she feels if you wanted me, if you loved me, whatever the thing is, right? The words that we don't say, you would have come so much because that's how you would show me how much you want me. So I don't think, you know, like on the superficial level, they'll be like, oh, you know, he's not big enough, or, you know, he doesn't come, whatever. But the truth, like the emotional, like core of it, is that we take it as a personal, you know, insult, affront, as a hurt. We're hurt by it. And then the guy senses that, and then he feels that himself is not good enough. That he, you know, didn't do his like duty, which is to come. But like coming, especially for a guy, should only be his duty if he wants to impregnate you, right?
Correct.
Why else do we need that sperm?
Or the body just.
We don't need his sperm, you know, sexually to come like 20 times.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah. Well, sometimes what I found, and I don't know, like guys sometimes don't want to come, right? They want to last longer. But if something also feels really good, it's just like the body's natural response. Like unless they're like they really practice edging or whatever. But I come across this, and I guess like I joke that I guess I just have such a magical yoni. It feels just so good. But I don't know, and I like it when guys come, but there literally is no pressure because I personally it's so difficult for me to come to like full orgasm because I think I need to work on that whole like learning how to like internally stimulate. Like that's why these are good, and I need to practice more because like I'm just like that clitoral person. So like, gosh, I need to learn more about how I would love to like orgasm more from internal stimulation, and maybe we can.
You will.
Yeah.
You will.
Yeah.
You're still young.
Well, there's a way.
Yeah. Give it another 10 years.
I don't know if I want to wait 10 years. I just have to
No,
start
I'm not saying you
practicing.
have to wait 10 years. But sometime between tonight and the next 10 years,
You'll
will.
master it.
Yeah, you will
for
master
sure.
it. Yeah. And also like squirting. Oh my God, that's so good.
I want to learn that.
Yeah,
so much.
But also, you know, like the guy can ejaculate and then he can eat you out. I mean, like, you know, there is no proper.
It doesn't just have to end it.
Yeah. Like all he has to do is like stay awake and
not fall asleep. Sorry, we're not. No offense to
We're not
anyone that
done.
does fall asleep. If you do, we understand why. But
yeah, we're not done. Like, you know, and I think owning up to it, like as women, you know, not feeling like, okay, my job here is to please him, and you know, which implies when he's pleased, I should adjust, otherwise I'm gonna hurt his feelings. Like that's why so much of this, you know, podcast is devoted to like separating our sense of like who we are and people and our feelings, the stuff, you know, we take personally from what we do in sex in the bedroom. You know, because like when we go on a workout or when we're at the gym or whatever, you know, whatever other thing we do physically, we don't internalize it so much. You know, everything we do, you know, let's say like you have a day and you go and you can't like run on the treadmill. Like you don't think about it twice. It's done. You know, but if that happens sexually, oh boy, it's like
it's on. Yeah.
it's like my body, I couldn't, I wasn't wanted, or maybe I was overthinking, or maybe I was self-conscious, and it's like, no, maybe you were tired, maybe you were coming down with the flu, like there are a million
The
reasons.
moon, you know, women are very lunatic, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like Venus is retrograde, forget it, everything's opposite.
Yeah.
Mars, like all kinds of stuff could be, you know, part of it, like we shouldn't put so much emphasis on it. We should just keep at it, you know, because it's a natural part of who we are and what we do. And it's one of the things that makes us feel happy, you know, and life is like sucks enough, you know, making money sucks. Right?
Yes.
And like it's one of the few things we can do for free that we don't have to like constantly run because of it. So, I mean, to me, you know, it's like so much better. Even food, like you have to buy it and you have to bring it home and you have to unpack it and you have to like, put it in the fridge and take it out of the fridge. You know, prepare it. All of that for the pleasure of eating. You know, like the sex, you just need like, you know, a good partner. Like an eager partner, not good and bad. Eager, willing.
or
Yeah.
yourself, or just
Or
like,
yourself.
or finding that like you can also, that's something that I'm still working on, because I do find that I enjoy myself so much more with a partner, but I think that's also because like you can have fun with yourself, but like when you're with another energy, it's just, it takes it to a whole other level.
But I think it's a two different, I'm not sure you can really compare both things. Like, I don't know, that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Because when you're with somebody, the dynamic changes. It's just like when you're having a threesome or a foursome or whatever it is. It's just different, I guess, different situations, different energy. Sometimes I can't wait for my husband to go to work so I can be with myself, you know? So it's like, at times, obviously, I guess I need a partner, but I'm very much comfortable with myself, or sometimes I would need that third person or that fourth person to just kind of switch it up a little bit, you know, I guess.
Yeah, I have something to say to this, but let's take a break and come back to us soon. Speak Sex. Okay, welcome back to Speak Sex. I am Eurydice, your sex whisperer, and I'm here with Naomi and Nathalia. And we're talking about sexual wellness and finding sexual, health and evolution and better, happier, easier, non-judgmental, freer sex. So we were just talking about the difference between having sex alone and having sex with a partner or many partners. and I feel that each one brings out something different in you, right?
Yes.
So it's a little bit like when you practice your yoga alone. Like I've done yoga since I was like 19, so I can definitely have like a great practice home. I don't need anything. But when you go to yoga class, you kind of discover things that you can do, or you push yourself more because there are other people, there are witnesses, or the energy of the group, all that. So the good thing about being alone is that you may not be pushing yourself that extra mile, but on the other hand, you are not intimidated in any way, right?
Correct.
So in exchange for that, like you're not self-conscious or worried about trying new things in front of everyone because you're alone. So it's a great place to experiment like something completely new. And like anal. But and the other thing that you could do, for masturbation, if you want to take it like an edge higher, is videotape yourself. Like put your phone somewhere.
Or you can maybe use a mirror,
Oh yeah, for sure use a mirror. If you can, I mean, if you have a situation, I would use a mirror because then it makes it easier to like be in your body and your body, but also kind of like objectify your body enough to get that, to get that extra visual stimulation. And it's also kind of like you learn. I feel like if you watch yourself, you also learn about the gaze, like the male gaze, and you access, it's almost like you access the masculine part of you.
You learn your angles, I guess.
Right, yeah, but also, we all have like a feminine and a masculine, and I feel that the gaze is always male, because that's how we've been taught to see the world, so it at least makes you aware and
Or
conscious.
you really see yourself.
And you get yourself in that way.
Yeah. I like, something that I realized as I was studying Tantra and things like that, and you learn about Yoni massage, and I realized that, of course I know the male anatomy just because for my life I've been straight and really been with men, but knowing my own anatomy, it's still like a bit foreign to me because you're not usually down there like looking at it, and if you're not using a mirror, you really can't see yourself. But like learning and also being comfortable with whatever's down there, because it's not it's not the cutest, but it's really beautiful, and it does so much. Like our yonis are so amazing; they produce life, and they're like pleasure centers. But if you take time to really learn about yourself, so that's something I have to also do. There's so many things I have to learn. I should be like taking a list. But yeah, and then the more you get to maybe even see it, like when you're like just with yourself, you can just sort of like visualize, like this is where I want to go, or this is
something I always implement on every workshop that I do. I always tell these women that in order for you to know how well you know yourself, like your yoni, you have to close your eyes, and because when we close our eyes, we could really envision our face, our hair, our hands, any other parts of our body. But if we close our eyes, how well can we actually see and remember what our yoni looks like? And if we don't, that's when you know you need to get a mirror and really just look at yourself and just really get there, inside, outside, whatever shape or form. You gotta just envision it. Close your eyes and know it.
I like the camera, I really do. And you can like delete it right after, so it's not that you don't have to like start sending it to everyone, or anyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's not at all the purpose, but kind of like, because we're so used to seeing photos of ourselves, like sometimes the way if you close your eyes, you see your face more from photos than from how you look in the mirror in the morning, because the photo or the video has that added sense of like you're being seen
and it's
by another.
And it's movement. It's you in action, or hearing yourself, or like, because if you're in that moment, if you're truly present, you have no idea what you look like.
Or sound like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually,
now I'm inspired. I would focus the camera on the vagina or the erotic zone, because that way you don't have to necessarily, the issue here is not what your face looks like.
True. Yeah.
It's about what, who you are sexually. And of course, always like use the coconut oil and oil it up, because it looks so much hotter.
And it changes once you're aroused. The color changes, and everything changes.
I was just going to say that when when Naomi said it's not the cutest, I was going to say actually when it's turned on, it's gorgeous. It's like
blooming.
Blooming. Yeah. It's like a flower. It's like the most beautiful flower. And no matter what it looks like when it's not aroused, when it's aroused, it's like amazing looking, gorged with blood. The way that it's the same thing as like a hard-on versus not, or even your face, like when you get a good scrub and you're like all red and plump, and you're like, wow, that looks so much better. So it looks much better, and also like because it's swollen, it's easier to find the different spots you're looking for, right? You can see your clit because it's like sticking out, looking for attention, like everything is bigger, it's opening up, it's wanting to be, and by looking at the camera, I think you could like arouse yourself with your own visual attention, right, to yourself. Because, the vagina likes to be seen.
For sure. And it's always hidden, and that's another thing I always encourage, is take your panties off. I love that. Every time I'm wearing and the way that I find to do this, like on my daily basis, is if I'm wearing a dress, like now, if I'm wearing a dress or a long skirt, I always let it loose because that's where you get some air and you just let it breathe, you know. We're always like wearing jeans or wearing tight clothes, or, you know, our legs have to be closed for some reason or not, so it doesn't breathe. So I always say use the panties. Definitely sleep without underwear or bra for sure. A lot. You'll be surprised how many women. You'll be surprised how many women don't do that. But
but the other thing is, yes, actually, I just read an article in the New York Times about the fact that we women are encouraged to always sit cross-legged, which I personally sometimes find arousing because like you pressure on your you know, clitoris, so it's kind of a little bit of a stimulation. But the article said that it's much healthier to like sit open-legged, and that men, you know, always sit open-legged, and it's much healthier than the way women are always sitting. And I'm like, wow, you know. To me, like my association with like no panties and sitting with your legs open is the story of Bo. Because like the first thing or the second thing that her master, Sir Stephen, asks her to do is like never wear underwear, always wear a dress, and always sit with your legs apart. So in my head, that's like a sexual position. You know, it's like I don't have underwear, I'm wearing a skirt, and I'm not like cross-legged. I'm in sexual place. You know, and even if
something's gonna enter right there,
I'm at least like inviting something. And even if you, even if when we do that and we don't want to invite anyone, it's still kind of interesting because you take a little bit of like the sexual energy in your daily life. You know, you don't have to like focus on it, but it becomes something that, you know, it brings intention to your sexual, you know, anatomy, right? It makes it aware and alive, and that's a good practice, I feel. You know, maybe not at work and not in the office, but like whatever else you can.
Whenever you feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, not at work.
Not at work.
At least not with people knowing.
No, not at work. Because we're working like really hard as feminists to separate like workplace from like sexual place. So we gotta be clear on that until like every single male on this planet understands it. So for now, and maybe until we really enter the Aquarian age and everybody's like equally evolved. It's just what it is. Okay, so I'm going to take another break, and in our next segment we're going to get to the how-to, I hope. Stay with us and subscribe to Speak Sex. Welcome back to Speak Sex. I am your sex whisperer, Eurydice, and I am with Naomi and Nathalia. And Nathalia is the founder of Yoni Wonderland, with an A. And we are going to try out some of these beautiful crystal enhancers.
Intimate gemstones.
You can call it whatever you want.
I can't call them crystal dildos because I am having such a block. Intimate, stone. That one.
The gemstones. It's like IG, intimate gemstones.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Don't forget to use your IG daily.
Yeah.
All right. So first, I want to, Nathalia, please tell us a little about where you found them, how they're made, who makes them.
Okay.
How you became aware of them, and kind of like what motivated you to drop whatever else you were doing and bring them to America and like make them your new, career path and your, your new calling, let's say. And I have two, so I'm going to talk about my experience with them.
That's great. You have your experience.
Yeah.
Well, my journey started after I gave birth to my daughter. She's 2 years now, and my husband actually was the one that kept talking about it, mainly the yoni eggs. And
how did he know about it?
Well, he's a very curious guy, and he found this girl on Instagram, and then he started looking into, oh my God, this thing goes inside the yoni. It's great for, you know, pelvic floor health and increases. Yeah, the Kegels, because you insert that inside the yoni, and then you do breath work with that. So you contract your muscles, and then you release your muscles on an exhale. So you inhale and you contract, and you exhale and you let it go, or you can do it actually the opposite. So you can actually fill up your body and kind of like open that flower, like your pelvic floor muscles, and you push it out. And then whenever you let go of all that breath, you contract everything in. So there's two types of doing it. Whatever.
What do you mean by pushing out? Pushing completely out of the vulva each time?
Yeah. So you breathe in. And you expand your lungs, you fill your body with air, including as if you were filling out like your yoni, and expanding as if, and the feeding it, and you push it out, like you actually, as if you were forcing
so
when you're inhaling, you're contracting your muscles, and you're doing so as if you were, when you gotta pee, and then you so then
okay, let me take one. So there is a nice big, you know, pink rose quartz yoni egg.
Yes.
Right. So when you inhale,
you push it up. So if you're
you put it in.
You put it in first of all, and then you put the water. You get aroused first, and then once your yoni is ready to receive whatever. Yes. Right. So then that's when you never force it. You put it in, and then you put it in, and then you inhale, and it's as if you were pushing it up to your belly button. Okay. And then when you exhale, you just release it out, and if you can use your voice, you know. That's when you release.
And it comes out completely?
No, it stays inside. So what you're pretty much doing, and then when you're contracting your muscle and you're releasing, so what you're doing with that, you're actually creating muscle strength, right? Mm-hmm. So when you create muscle strength, obviously you start to have blood circulation, and with the blood circulation, you get more aroused, you increase fluids,
all of that, muscle
prevents, correct, because it's a muscle that nobody,
and
we don't think that we
after
have it.
You have babies, especially, like, and you lose some of your elasticity.
Correct.
It's a great way to regain it.
Yeah.
Both for sex, but also like you don't want to pee when you sneeze or something.
Yeah, so the urinary incontinence.
And like so many women, mothers, you know, are thinking, well, maybe I should go get that surgery where they put the mesh in you, which then it turned out that mesh was, you know, oftentimes bad and needed to be replaced, and it's very painful and
that's
you don't need any of that stuff. You just need to do your Kegels one way or another, yoni egg or no. Correct. You know, and it will come back like any other muscle.
And I remember from the demo that we had done, when you're inserting it, you kind of let your body like vacuum it naturally. You don't want to like force it. You want to make sure that the body's like ready to receive it.
And you will see that your yoni will do exactly like
like naturally. It's like
Okay, so I'll tell you now my problem with it. What happened to me is that I think I get them too small. Like this is mine. I don't know what size.
You got a medium size.
A medium size. Okay. So this is the big size. Mine is medium size, and then there is like little teeny one.
Correct.
Size. Okay. You have to tell us like what the difference is in the sizing.
Okay.
But mine, what happened to me is that, you know, of course it went in effortlessly. Everything was great, and then it went up too far, and I couldn't find it. It walked like it you know, in one of the inhales, I don't know, maybe like third one or something. It went like way up, and I'm exhaling, nothing's coming out, and I'm like, where did this dude go? Then I was like, I had to stick my finger way up and fish it out, and it took some effort.
Okay.
I was like, this guy got lost like up in the urethra.
First of all, it's never gonna get lost. Okay?
No, I know, it wasn't like coming up my mouth.
I know.
I knew that it stopped, you know, so no, I wasn't worried that like it
and you have the undrilled, I guess, right?
But I didn't wanna, you know, I didn't wanna like have to go and pee it out or something, you know. So yeah, so what's that about?
Okay, what you could have done instead is just trust the process, right? Continue with your
squatted.
Well, but you just did it once and then you wanted to come out, or how?
No, I mean I did it a few times, but then the one time it didn't do it. It didn't naturally like come down. I should have squatted probably and
You
let
should have
gravity.
squatted, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like unless you
Are
really
they fragile? Like will they break if they crash on the floor?
Yes, and if
Okay.
that happens, don't use it. But
Yeah.
with the exception of
If they break,
yeah.
don't use them broken.
Don't use the broken one, yeah. But the nephrite jade, which is the most expensive of the collection, and the reason why is because it's a denser stone. So if it falls on the floor, it's not going to break, it's not going to scratch. And it's 100% non-porous, meaning you can actually boil the stone and it's not going to crash. Versus the quartz, you have to be really careful of the temperature, or if it falls down, it's a lot more sensitive than the jade itself.
Oh yeah, I've had so many crystal ones like
Well, let's say, maybe you're over like a pillow or whatever, as long as you're over like a soft surface, like don't like start squatting over the tile and then,
And then it correct.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the way to let it out, it's just squatting it down, and just remember that you're also working with the energy of the stone. So maybe you're ready to stop working with the yoni eggs, but maybe the yoni eggs are not, fully done with you. So maybe they're doing some healing work or some inner work, especially the black obsidian, which is a stone that works with your shadows and your childhood traumas, and it assesses kind of like a hidden aspect of you, like that, really like your the hidden version of Eve that it needs to come out. So maybe it's assessing to a higher.
It went straight to the G spot. That's all I know.
Okay.
And I thought, like, how does it know that that's my happy spot? But it was illegal.
Yeah, so then just and my recommendation is two things. First of all, when you're a beginner, always practice it in your house or at a safe place where if you happen to sneeze or cough or go down the stairs or just mainly walk, it will come down on its own. It might come down on its own since you don't have that that muscle already kind of like established.
Yeah. I had the opposite problem. It will come out on its own.
Yeah, but it will come out on its own,
Yeah.
and I'm always in favor of that, unless you really have to go somewhere and you really want to, and if that's the case.
You don't want to have the yoni.
And in this case, if you get out of your house using, we're using a yoni egg, please wear underwear. Yes, that's the only time I would recommend.
Like walking around, spreading, popping.
Telling just give birth to an egg.
It's a crystal egg. I think it's obsidian.
Yeah, but then again, and you got one, because they come in two forms, right? They come with the drilled and then the non-drilled. The difference is the drilled egg, you can actually put a thread around it, and it's similar, if you envision it, it's, the cord will come out, and it will stay out of your yoni, and you can just push it out as if it was a tampon.
That's probably ideal for beginners. Like for me, that's what I got, because I am worried about it just like hanging out up there. But then you can pull it out, and then especially if you decide to wear it, like it kind of stays. You know what I realized recently? I think the reason why I am able, I'm not ready for the small one, but I wear diva cups, and I have probably for at least a year or so. And I think because that's something that you wear or long periods of time, it kind of also trains the muscles in there. So I realized this recently. I was wow, how are my muscles already pretty good? And also I've been told oh wow, you're tight. Which I thought was interesting, because my ex used to be quite large, and it was how do you go back? But
you go back.
Yeah, you go back. It's elastic. I learned that. But yeah, so but this you also can wear. You don't have to just use it. You could but maybe you don't want to wear it too long, because you also want to clean it and recharge it. And
correct. Yes.
Yeah. Recharge it in the full moonlight is what we mean.
Yeah.
You don't plug it anywhere.
No. Don't be putting it in the microwave or anything. No. Sure.
Yeah.
And so they come in 3 sizes, so you actually work your way down. So you start larger and you work your way down.
Mm-hmm.
The medium size, it's a good overall size to start, unless you for sure, I want the large one, or recently given vaginal birth, which was my case. And And also, like if you're older and maybe have weak and pelvic floor muscles, that's when you know that you need a larger one. But overall, I usually recommend a good overall medium size is good. And then
tell us a little bit about the stones. So this stone is
the one you actually have in your hand, that's the carnelian. And then
carnelian is good for what?
They call it the performer stone. So it helps to boost confidence. So especially if you're going to use your voice a lot, or if you're on stage, that's something that, you know, the singers, and when they're on stage, they might use something like that. That's the one I used to wear a lot when I had events or, you know, speak in public. I used to like to use the carnelian a lot, and it's a very grounding stone as well. We have the rose quartz. Rose quartz is overall,
Beautiful
which is, so it's self-love, romance, forgiveness, you know, everything that comes from the heart. And it's a stone that I say, if you're, usually you know, like you're going to get called to a stone, but if you're unsure, if you like really don't know,
get the rose
I usually recommend the rose quartz because it's a great beginner stone.
It's a lovely
And you're going to benefit from the stone.
So
at any
this
stage.
is like the braided dildo.
Yeah, that's what I call it, the twist. So it looks like literally
so it has a texture that has
like a unicorn horn.
Right.
like a unicorn horn. Yeah. So you really do it as if you had like
okay,
you
and
twist it in.
this is
that's the jade.
Okay, that's the jade, which we have the more familiar little phallic.
Those are obsidian though.
That's black obsidian.
Oh, this is the jade.
Yeah,
the jade is
green.
green.
It's
Right,
a dark, dense green. Yes.
Right.
And then the black stone is the black obsidian.
Right.
And that's the
So
one that deals with your shadows, and you know it brings a lot of things to
So
the
it's
surface.
more healing.
It's a healing. A lot of, if you start to read about it, a lot of women also, people who actually sell, they say start with the black obsidian, which is going to kind of like clean the house, and then you go to the quartz and other stones to kind of infuse it with whatever it is that you want to infuse.
Lovely.
But yeah.
And this shape, the wave, I don't know what you call it.
It's the wave, and that's it's specifically, well, the main focus of it, it's for the G spot, just because once you insert it, it looks kind of like it goes like that. Yeah, either way, it doesn't matter. One is just, I guess, a little thinner.
I put this inside.
Yeah, and then it's going to go right into your G spot.
Like this, I did it
correct.
like this. Yeah.
And then it goes right into your G spot, and then you simulate that point, and you'll be surprised because a lot of women don't even know how to locate their G spot, and once they do, maybe they don't feel anything, or maybe it hurts, or maybe it's an intense pleasure. So that's when I'm saying, like, these are great for self-exploration because it's not only about touching yourself and feeling pleasure, but if you're not feeling anything, that muscle or that area is dormant, and you have to awaken it. It's dormant, or if it feels pain, it's just like having a sore neck. You know, you need to get a deep tissue massage and release it. So that's when these tools come in handy because, and again, it takes a long time for us to get aroused and get into our state. So sometimes you're going to be in a session, like a self-pleasuring massage or a yoni massage session for a good 45 minutes to an hour. And once you have your hand kind of like the way it needs to go in, it's going to start to hurt, and it's going to, so please.
Your hand hurts.
Yeah, well, if you're not using the tools, like if you're using your fingers per se, it can get really tiring, you know. And so these tools, they're great for that because they're going to, I always have this difficult saying this, dig deeper into the tissues, and then they're going to do the work for you, right? So you don't have to work as hard.
Well, this obsidian wave, which is the one that I have and I tried out, I just want to report from the trenches. it was definitely different in the beginning, you know, like compared to a dildo, like a silicone dildo, or you know, which is much more familiar. Like the texture is softer and pliable, and its job is to pretend to be like a penis, human penis, right?
Correct.
So it's easier to kind of like make that leap. This was definitely like a foreign object to me.
For sure, yeah.
So I was like, wow, I have never, you know, I don't remember ever putting something in with this weight and this texture and this energy, you know, inside me. So whereas I thought, you know, I started off thinking, oh, you know, I'm a pro, you know, but it was totally new. It was nothing that like I had done before. So it wasn't as simple, you know, like if I have a dildo or, you know, from my hand or something, or anybody's hand, you know, I can come
You already know what to do.
I know exactly,
yeah.
right, yeah. So when I first experimented, I thought this would be the same, and it wasn't. You know, I was aroused, I was very aroused, so that kind of in and out was familiar, but the experience of the material, the stone, you know, the earth, and the weight of it, and the way that it's inflexible, right, compared to what mostly
and the
goes in
way
there.
it warms up once it's inside.
It warmed up a lot.
Yes, and then when you take it out and you actually, and you see the difference in temperature, that's, I think, one of the things that turns me on the most, you know, the difference in temperature. I love it, yeah. And then it's the difference of that and a vibrator is about the internal stimulation, because the vibrator, you're kind of like more towards your clit and, you know, the external areas, versus that it's it's just a natural, you know, internal.
But I mean, I know that it's, I mean, one of its jobs is to help us learn and experience more aspects of our internal anatomy. But it's definitely new, like it's a new way. And maybe because the obsidian is about trauma and healing, you know, I found myself like having to adjust from masturbation to climax mode to kind of like experimenting with this rock mode, you know? I had to get out of, I'm gonna come with this rock in, you know, in like 3 seconds. To like, okay, I am learning what it feels like to have like a piece of, you know, rock from the earth inside of me, and you know what it tells me.
And when you think about like the intimate gemstones, like you're being intimate with yourself. It isn't there can be pleasure, but you may also discover, as you were saying, like a numbness or the pain, because we can carry a lot down there that we don't realize. So it's helping us maybe find more pleasure as we're using it, because it may heal us or
well, for me, I also found that it's a good exercise. Unlike like familiar dildos, it's a good exercise for being sexual without the orgasm. Like, you know, without needing to do it quickly in the familiar way, like move the way you move, you know, to come and then get on with your day. It's totally different. So when you just said 45 minutes, I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not just masturbation.
45.
It's about the slow pleasure. And one thing I tell women is, if you're like really invested in enhancing your sexuality and everything that you're feeling, your sensations, you're gonna make as much time as you do per se when you go to a hair salon. Sometimes women spend 5-6 hours in a hair salon. Think about it. You know, so it's true, but you go get your nails, or you spend so much time investing in other areas of your body or doing other things for yourself, like spending 3-4 hours at a mall per se. But you don't really invest that 2-3 hours that you have, even like if it's, even if it's a weekend, you know, that you're home. Sometimes you just sit in front of a Netflix and you eat popcorn or whatever it is, and you indulge in something else when you can actually be doing that. And just giving yourself that, you know, that time. And again, it's not a rule of thumb. Like sometimes I've been 20 minutes with that, or 15 minutes with that, 10 minutes with that, and I go and I hit my spot, and that's okay. But I do give myself the time. But I mean, because you start to learn how to stimulate it. And sometimes it's not about a yoni massage. Sometimes it's just about masturbation coming into orgasm. It's about 2 different things. So you have to know, once you're in that, like when you're really horny and you really want to get there, and that, because when you are already like aroused beforehand, you don't need to go into the whole, I'm going to give myself a breast massage, I'm going to get myself, you know, getting the mood of actually going for a self-pleasure massage. Once you really just want to get it off, and you're really horny and you're just really wet, it takes you 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and that's it. You know, your yoni is ready to receive. Correct.
No, my experience definitely was that even though I was ready every time, it wasn't as simple as like every other method, but you know, like we were saying, like I've been masturbating with my fingers since I was like 8 and succeeding, like never failed. So that already is a very well learned and practiced lesson, right? And with the dildo, like different dildos, but basically decades. So that again is something that my body, my hand, like the whole combination, the conversation between the spots in the vagina, my hand and my brain.
And they vibrate, which it's kind of...
No, I don't like vibrators.
Oh, you don't like vibrators?
I mean, I've used, but like I don't use the vibrator at all. But it's a familiar conversation also to the brain. That's what I want to say. Like our brain needs to learn new things gradually.
Correct.
So like my brain already knows the dildo and the way I wield it will reproduce what I feel during masturbation, and its job is to make me come. So like it will know that, right? But with this, it was
it's like a surprise.
What? Yeah. It was like all new messages. So you gotta kind of earn that pleasure.
Correct. Yes. And you tap into it in an organic way,
right?
Almost, so you have to just what you said, just reprogram your mind and just
especially because we're more familiar with them for like ritual or like you wear the crystals or outward, like
exactly,
rather than going inward with them.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. So after I started, after I gave birth to my daughter, that's when my husband came home. He's like, listen, if you're not taking the initiative to go ahead and buy it, I already purchased it for you. Here they are. Have fun, explore, and then that's when the whole thing started. But when I got them, like the first thing I did was Google.com. It was the straight one here, but in rose quartz. And then
what's this stone?
This is the red jasper. I love this stone. I call it the action taker. The red jasper is something that just gets the like the energy going, it moves stagnant energy from your body and it just activates everything.
Yeah, it has a feeling like you're charging, like you're in battle and you're going.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Just don't do that to your vagina.
No. Oh, your butthole. What is this one?
That is rhodonite. So it's
rhodonite.
It heals like deep traumas within your heart, and
because it has these veins.
It has a vein, and some people even say that it's the combination of the rose quartz and the black one. Okay. Because it heals trauma, and then it also deals with the heart. So it's kind of a two-in-one.
Yeah. Do you have it in a plug style?
I don't have it in a plug style. The plugs, I should have brought this. Yeah, I do have it in black obsidian and rose quartz, the butt plugs. But I will definitely look into the butt plugs for the. They're heavy though.
Which one is this?
That is the blue aventurine, blue quartz. So and that is
blue. What was the first one?
Aventurine.
Okay, aventurine.
Yes, blue quartz. And that is one. It's like a leadership stone. I call it the serene, just because it's a very passive, and it also helps with the voice. And throat chakra. So when I decided to work with these stones, I did my research and I started doing all these courses, and one of the things that I learned was that the stones actually choose you. And so when I got home, my first collection, which was when I opened my store and I laid it all flat down on the table, and I was like, okay.
How many was your first? How many did you have first?
A
dozen.
No, I maybe I got like one of each style, like one of each stone, and that's how I started, and then I gradually grew into having 3, 4, 5, and then I have,
Now you have a showroom.
Now I have a showroom, that is true.
Yeah.
And so the first one, because that line, which is the slide line.
This one.
Yeah, I have it in the
like a scimitar or a side.
Correct. Which is it's really comfy, which is more of a easier to maneuver. Yeah, because it goes into the shape of the vagina, so it's to slide it in and out. It's just very comfortable. So that was the one, because it's the only one that I have in the blue quartz, and for some reason it was calling me, and I have that same style in clear quartz, the rose quartz, and the black obsidian. For some reason this blue was calling me, and I'm never attracted to blue. I'll never choose blue over pink or purple or any other color. I don't know. But for some reason I was like, I was hesitant to get it. I was like, I don't want to get this blue. I want this pink one, or I want this purple one, or even this green one. Yeah. But I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'll get a chance to explore the other ones other times. So let's start with that. And that's what was the one that I started. That was my second wand. And I later learned, which was because I needed to express myself, and not even obviously sexually. I was like, it was just blocked. And then also my line of work required me to be at workshops, at conventions. I needed to speak up, right? And so when I learned that, that's the affirmation, or that's the intention I put into my practice, which is to use my voice, to open my voice. And then also your jaws, they're connected to your pelvic floor muscles, right? So if you're always kind of clenching your jaw or closing that area, you're also closing your yoni. So so the more you use your voice, the more you moan and just express it, the more you release. Even like when you do this moan, you feel a relax in your yoni, So do that as much as you can. If it's in the car, if it's somewhere in your
or even just like as you're just sitting there, if you probably you don't realize, like even just as you're talking about like not clenching, it's like, oh, I'm trying to clench right now, but just like relaxing your mouth, just like letting it be, even if you're not making a noise all the time. Just in general, just in general.
That's what the is, which you're supposed to do in the morning, like at least 2-3 times. You inhale and then you're like, and that's like the sound of the universe.
Yes.
So, the more we can say that, especially in a sexual way, even better.
Correct.
And I wanted to add, I actually had a podcast interview with a surgeon who specializes in, sexual enhancement of the vagina, the labia, the canal. And I just feel like, so many women after giving birth feel that it has, compromised or diminished their, sexual, power or desirability. And, just if you work your muscles and you're patient, be patient, people of the Western world, it will all come back. You don't need to cut and nip and tuck and chop and all of that's creating new scar tissue.
And remember, and it took me a while to process that as well. It's like right when you give birth, your focus, and the reason why our bodies are made this way is for a reason. Our focus is on our babies. Not that we have to exclude sex altogether, but it naturally comes back. And I learned with that, the slow pleasure, the slow coming back, patience
with yourself, taking care of yourself, and not rushing things.
Right, and not being so strict with yourself,
it's a natural process.
Sex should be just like open and free and not have any rules and, whatever expectations beyond experiencing it.
Correct.
Okay, so I wanted to share actually, these are very common in California. I don't know if they've come here, but this specific one
is called
I don't think you're allowed to even those ones.
Yeah, but it's like pleasure weaving, and it's cannabis infused lube, basically. Okay. That's all it is. Yeah. So like you don't have to be high, you do not have to drink, but if you feel that you want, some sort of like stimulation beyond what you get with like a lube, I recommend coconut oil.
For sure.
You can have something like this, and it does get you like all tingly and extra aroused. And it's really not like, it's not illegal, because you can, next time you're in California, buy some, So you're not ingesting anything, you're not making anybody high. But, now that the cannabis industry is blooming, there's so many products like this, and more are coming out, which are like sexual enhancers, very organic.
And it goes, and especially when...
So like you can rub your Yoni wand. I think that's the perfect name.
Yoni wand. Yeah, they're crystal wands. Yeah, crystal wands.
Well, that's why she did that. That is why she did it.
I got it. I've been looking for the name.
It's there all the time. It's Yoni Wonderland, so it's like Alice in Wonderland. So your Yoni is pretty much in Wonderland, but I did it with the A.
With an A, because it's a wand.
Because it's the wand, correct.
Now I know. So it's a Yoni wand, and that makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So, okay, I think that that's a good wrap. Like we spent the whole episode to get to the point where we organically came to the name of it. Yeah, okay, so thank you for coming, Nathalia and Naomi. Thank you for listening, everybody. Subscribe to our Speak Sex channel, and we'll be here in a week. And until then, please speak sex. Love you.
Bye.